Giving Voice to Your Ability, the show that goes to organizations that help individuals with disabilities and chats with those same individuals. Learn about life with a disability. Learn the tips and tricks of others. What helps, what doesn't. So let's find out who's at the table this time. Welcome to the show. Today we're going to talk about a topic that doesn't get a lot of attention, an invisible disability. Brain injury, either traumatic or acquired, has impacted millions of people worldwide, with causes ranging from sports injuries and domestic abuse to automotive and workplace accidents. With really just too many causes to list right now, brain injury can impact anyone at any time. So to highlight our journey into the world of brain injury, I'm going to have a chat with some of the folks at CHIRS, the Community Head Injury Resource Services of Toronto. CHIRS is a not-for-profit charitable organization that opened its doors in 1978 as Ashby House, the first community-based head injury residential program in North America. Since then, CHIRS has grown and now focuses on 4 main program areas across 3 campuses. The first program is Adult Day Services and other social and recreational groups. Number 2, Ashby Community Support Services. Number 3, Residential Services. And number 4, Clinical Services for Therapeutic and Educational Groups. CHIRS also has a mission statement to improve the quality of life for persons living with the effects of brain injury. What does all this mean? To help explain everything and send us off on our journey through brain injury at CHIRS, let's talk to the lady running the show, Hetty Chandler. Hetty, how are you? I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
And I think it's really a unique time to point out that you've been running the CHIRS operation for quite some time. And so this must be like a personal thing to you, almost.
It has become a personal thing to me. It's been, the mission of CHIRS is my personal mission as well. So we share that. And I think that every day that I come to work, my mission is to improve the quality of life for people with brain injuries.
And you know what? Just as a personal aside here, thank you for doing that, because there's far too many folks that don't do things like that. But let's take a look back at CHIRS. Let's look into the history, because it's been around since 1978 and grown to 3 locations, focusing on the adult day services, community support programs, residential and clinical services. What does all that mean? What actually happens on any given day at a CHIRS location? Because that's an awful lot of stuff right there.
It is. It's a complicated, well-orchestrated machine that works because we have incredible staff here at CHIRS. We have clinical programs which include substance use and brain injury, working with very complex individuals with mental health and addictions issues. And we are the world leaders in that kind of cognitive clinical rehabilitation, doing training around the world and also writing in journals. So that's the most recent thing, and that's very, very clinical. It's very different than the day-to-day existence of individuals with brain injury. So it affects them, but it doesn't affect them as directly as something like our residential services. Residential services at CHIRS run 24 hours a day. There are staff 24 hours a day. So people who need assistance in many different things, activities of daily living, cognitive strategies to make sure that their life is as pleasurable as possible. Those things are offered by the staff in order for the clients with brain injuries to live the most enriching lives that they possibly can.
So it's really got a lot to do with quality of life.
It has everything to do with quality of life. Trying to improve the quality of life for people, doing the things that for them that they don't need to do for themselves, and making sure that they have the most joy in life that they possibly can, because a lot of the things that they had that were joyful in their lives prior to their injury are no longer available to them, sadly.
That is very much a life-changing aspect. Nothing is the same as it was. And going back to the mission statement, to improve the quality of life for persons living with the effects of acquired brain injury. Now, everyone, you mentioned, you alluded to it, but everyone has a unique experience. How do you accommodate everyone while fulfilling the mission statement of Cheers?
I think that that's part of the magic of Cheers is the ability for staff to learn the cognitive strategies, to learn the clinical skills, which we happen to do a lot of training with our staff. They're able to take those and generalize them so that people, the staff, are able to see what the clients need. They know that the clients have brain injuries, and they know that there's certain parts of the brains that is injured may not be able to learn new skills, and people have to be able to compensate for those skills. So how do we help somebody make life easier for them, make it more enriching for them, improve their quality of life so they're not struggling doing the things that they no longer are able to do because that part of their brain is no longer working. So we learn to work around those things. We do something that's called scaffolding, which is providing them with as much of a foundation on the chore, the task that they're doing, so that they just do the end, so that they're most successful in everything that they do, so that they feel good about themselves.
That's huge. To be able to give someone just that little bit of a bump and help them through that goes a long way, really does. And I can only imagine the different circumstances that you've come across over the years. So how has being a part of Cheers or the Cheers family affected you over the years personally?
I've learned the most from the clients of Cheers, not from the staff and not from the neuropsychologists or the neuropsychiatrists or the other clinicians. I learn most from the clients. They teach me that I have to be patient, accepting, and kind. And I see that the values that we hold at Cheers, and I think it goes right through the whole organization, from me to throughout the whole staff, residential, day program, outreach programs, clinical. We really do care about the clients. And I feel that they know that we care so much. That's our first order of business every day, is to make sure that the client's quality of life is better and easier than it was the day before, or if it wasn't for our help.
Can I sum that up a little bit here? Because what really spoke out to me was make sure people know you care. And that's just incredible to be able to form a business along that.
Just for instance, when we built this building, which we did about 20 years ago, we involved clients in every phase of the building, from picking the colors of the walls, from picking the size of the windows so that people could see when they were sitting in wheelchairs in the day program, that the accessibility would be good, that the building would be what they really need, not what we as staff think they need. And there has been so little damage to this building over the 20 years. It is incredible when I compare it to what I heard from other similar organizations where people don't take pride. We all take pride, the staff do, and the clients take pride in being here. And if you've come, Sean, you've come to the club and you've seen what's happening there.
Oh, I've seen the club in full swing, and I got to tell you, it's quite incredible just to see everyone come out of their shell that way.
Yeah, you come in, you feel warm, you feel welcomed, you feel invited here.
You feel part of the atmosphere when
Yes.
you walk through the doors.
That's right, and that's
You're part of
what
everything.
we're trying to do. And we have staff who do a great job at making sure that happens.
Well, I have to say, every time I come through the door, I know I feel like part of the group, and it's just very open and welcoming when I show up. So thank you for the job you do. Now, I have to ask you something, a bit of a personal question here. And it's more along the lines of, what do you see happening today? What do you see going on in society today revolving around brain injury that shouldn't be happening? And how do we stop it?
One of the things that always strikes me is that brain injury in the services in the community continues to get lost amongst all the other big funding issues that are facing the Ministry of Health, because we are funded by the Ministry of Health. So the hospitals get a lot of attention. When the hospitals go into deficit, they get bailed out. We get lost in there because we're small compared to them, although CHIRS happens to be one of the largest community-based agencies that's funded by the Ministry of Health. We still do not get the kind of funding we need. You said in the beginning that there's millions of people worldwide. In Ontario, there's about 18,000 brain injuries a year. CHIRS serves maybe 500 people. We can never meet the needs of our waiting list. We can't meet the needs of all the people with brain injuries. And now concussions are bringing out more and more awareness around brain injury. The services, the more demand on services, the less services are available because the demand is greater. And there's no recognition or pickup from the government yet.
So it's still an uphill battle very much with brain injury. Well, that kind of ties into my next question, because in your opinion, what do you think is the one thing about brain injury that everyone needs to know?
That it can happen to anybody at any time, in a moment, in a second. You can fall from a ladder when you're cleaning your eaves troughs. You can get into a fight. You can get kicked. You can fall on the sidewalk. You can get hit by a vehicle. You can be in a car collision. You can have a stroke. You don't have to be an old person to have a stroke. We have people who are 18, 19 years old who have had strokes and had very bad brain injuries due to the stroke. The need is so great, and the reasons are so, there's so many reasons that cause brain injury, that it can happen to you, and it can happen to me, and it can happen to anybody at any time.
It is really incredible just how quickly and easily it can happen.
In a second.
Absolutely. Now, if people are looking for more information about CHIRS, they want help, things of that nature, how do they get a hold of CHIRS? Where can they get more information?
Well, they can call CHIRS, 416-240-8000. They can call our intake department. They have lots of information, and that's intake@CHIRS, CHIRS.com. And there's a system navigator for acquired brain injury in the Central LIN, which is the Local Health Integration Network. They could call that person, or the Toronto Acquired Brain Injury Network. They have information about what services are available. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean that people will get services. They'll just be made aware of what services are available.
And that's a point right there. Made aware of services that are available. Hetty, thank you very much for your time. That is unfortunately all the time we have for now, but I look forward to speaking with you at a future date.
Thank you, Sean.
Welcome to the Giving Voice to Your Ability Survivor and Thriver experience. This portion of the show talks with one individual thriving with a disability. What works in daily life and what doesn't. I'm your host, Sean Pickard, and today I'm sitting down with Marshall. Marshall?
Yes.
Tell me about you and how did you begin your association with the Community Head Injury Resource Services?
I'll start by telling you what happened. 4 years ago almost, I was a realtor, and I was selling a house. I was in the middle of selling it. We just reviewed all the offers, and I remember my client saying to me, Marshall, something's wrong. And then it wasn't until over a year later I asked him, what did you mean by that? And he said he knows I'm left-handed, and my left hand and my arm weren't working properly. I kept complaining about it to him, and then I said to him, do you mind, we were sitting at the dining room table, and I said, do you mind if I go sit on the couch for a few minutes? He said, no problem. And so on my way to the couch, I fell because my legs gave out.
Your legs gave out on the way to the couch.
Yes, which was strange for me because I was an athlete. I was in the gym 5 times a week, and I played hockey 4 times a week.
So you're a very active guy.
I was, yeah.
And I'm going to assume by no means, say, susceptible to falling over on your way to the couch on a regular basis?
No. Not at all.
No. So odd situation.
Yeah.
So thank God your client, stepped up on that one.
Yep. So he said, I'm going to call for help. And I said, just wait. because I just gone to the car and taken allergy medication, and I thought maybe it was from that. And so he didn't wait. He called 911, and within 10 minutes, an ambulance was at the property. And 10 minutes later or so, I was at St. Mike's Hospital here in Toronto, and I suffered a massive stroke. There's two types, and I had a hemorrhagic stroke, which means your brain bleeds, which is more serious. Not that the other kind, if you have clots, isn't, but they can give you medication if you have clots. I don't know what it's really called, but they refer to it as a clot buster. So, but with the bleed, I just had to deal with it. And mine was huge. Mine was 1.5 inches square.
That's big.
Yes.
Help me understand the
Yes.
changes to your life. You were talking about selling real estate.
Yes.
So what was life like?
Life was always a chaos because I have 2 kids. And so if I wasn't running for them or work, I was running to the gym or hockey or socially. I was always on the go, always.
Okay. So a successful realtor
Yeah.
with family
Yes.
and very active social life.
Yes.
What are you doing now? Are you still selling real estate?
No,
No.
I'm not interested. My life has changed so much. Now, you know how people, mostly religious people, will say that I've found my calling. Okay, well, I've found mine.
Okay. What's your calling?
Helping others.
Helping others.
Yep. Service.
Okay. Well, that can also start at McDonald's.
But mine is, I'm most, now the biggest compliment somebody could pay me on a day is that I've motivated or inspired them.
Those are big words.
Those are huge because, life is a journey and we sometimes get stuck. So if I can help somebody who's maybe stuck on their journey,
Mm-hmm.
that's everything to me.
So how can you help someone who's stuck on their journey?
By sharing my story, maybe giving them just a positive word. Words have so much power. I'm very careful about my words now in life.
Oh, it's amazing how much power words have.
I'm very careful with what I choose to say, what I scrap from my vocabulary. I don't use the word hate. I'll say I strongly I strongly object to something, or I'm not fond of something, but I try and if I use the word, I correct myself right away because I don't have hate in me.
Okay. So does that mean you dislike vigorously Brussels sprouts or something like that?
Brussels sprouts and Donald Trump.
Okay. Okay, that's understandable. That's understandable.
But I also I don't use the word for myself ever. Hardly ever disabled.
Okay.
I am mobility impaired.
That's big.
Thank you.
Mobility impaired.
And I literally use that if anybody says what's going on with you, because I'm left-handed and
Mhm.
my left hand doesn't work at all, and I don't walk as well as I used to, and so my physical life has changed. But I'm very fortunate insofar as I wasn't affected cognitively.
Okay. So your life has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about some of the tips and tricks.
Okay.
What are some of the tactics or things that you've learned because your life has changed? What's some of the stuff that's worked versus hasn't worked for you?
What's worked is always choosing what's empowering, how to look at things in the most empowering way. I choose to disregard anything negative.
Okay.
So if, you won't understand this, and I don't really understand it either, but when a woman's pregnant, people always will say, when you have the baby, your life will change forever. You're not going to sleep anymore. Why would somebody give that person negative advice? When people say negative things, I disregard them.
Well, that's very important.
Yeah.
That is, and that goes along with a personal saying that I have,
Go ahead.
which is it's mind over matter.
Right.
I don't mind what you think because you don't matter.
Right.
So anyone that comes across with a negative aspect towards me, then I have that mind over matter type of
That's
outlook
great.
towards them. It's very empowering to actually find that you can help someone get through their day. I've always called myself a selfish individual because I like to help people.
That's great.
And the only reason I help them is because it makes me feel good.
Yeah. See, I genuinely now, things in my life that are most important to me, the qualities would be, one of them is service and another is empathy. And it's like what you said, how did I come to CHIRS?
Mhm.
And I lived in Guelph for 2.5 years after I got out of the hospital because my partner lived there, now my ex-partner, and I moved into her house. And so I went to an ABI program in Guelph, and when I told them I was moving back to Toronto, they referred me to CHIRS.
Good stuff. And lots of good people here at Cheers.
Thank God. You know, it's one of the best places you could ever meet people, because the quality of people here, from the top down, and I mean that from the staff to the participants and everybody in between, is the quality of human being is just so superior.
And talking about those superior beings at Cheers, what's the one thing about Cheers that you feel everybody needs to know?
That empathy runs through the whole building.
Empathy runs through the whole building.
Yep. So when you walk in those doors, you can't help but feel it. When somebody says, "I understand," they do.
And that's big news. That's good
It's
stuff
huge.
to know.
My ex-partner, she used to always say, I understand. Because in the beginning, I'd have bad days. I don't anymore. I never have a bad day.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. I still have my moments. You know, when sometimes it's hard now as time passes and hockey seasons come and go. It's harder because I'm getting more ability back physically, but I'm still not at a place I can play hockey yet. But it's closer than it was the first season. So when I'd go see my buddies play, it was very easy in the beginning to sit on the bench. And as the years go by, it's harder because I feel stronger physically. Like now I do different things. Like last summer, I did the edge walk at the Sid Tower.
Okay.
And last November, I did the stair climb for the United Way. So even though I'm physically impaired, I still climbed almost 2,000 stairs.
You know what? I'm sweating just thinking about that.
But the funny part is I wouldn't have done it when I was an athlete. When I was fully able-bodied, I would have never done it. I wouldn't even walk a block before. I would have drove for like a block if I needed something.
Yeah, many people do that quick drive to the corner store, don't they?
Yep. And in June, I'm going skydiving.
You're going skydiving in June.
Yep.
Wow, that's an interesting place to be. I'm gonna say, not a lot of people will jump out of a perfectly good airplane.
Well, I don't have fears. I have one fear in life, just one.
Missing out?
Nope. As a parent, God forbid something happening to one of my kids.
Yes, that's
the only. It's actually the only fear I have in life.
And that's a big one, but I can totally understand that.
Yeah.
Now, what is the one thing about ABI, Marshall, or acquired brain injury that you feel everyone should know?
It doesn't make you disabled. It makes you differently abled.
It doesn't make you disabled. It makes you differently abled.
Because, every brain injury affects people differently. Like, I have mobility issues, and some people have cognitive issues. and some are only limited to memory. Some are a combination of all those. So it affects everybody differently. But, disabled to me, if you use that term to describe somebody, if it's not you yourself, it might imply not able to or less than.
It might imply that to some people.
Right. And so I am definitely not less than I was. In fact, if anything, I'm more of.
Absolutely. I understand that, brother.
Yeah.
And we've run out of time here. So unfortunately, that's all we have for this time.
Thank you for having me.
Look forward to having you again sometime, Marshall.
It's time for us to take a little break, folks. I hope you're enjoying our little adventure through CHIRS, the Community Head Injury Resource Services. Stick around. We've got a tour with Shannon coming up next.
Dave, what is Toastmasters?
Well, Shannon, Toastmasters International is a non-profit educational organization that teaches public speaking and leadership skills. With over 400,000 members and being around since 1924, Toastmasters International has helped people from diverse backgrounds become more confident speakers, communicators, and leaders.
Is there a Toastmasters at CHIRS?
Well, Shannon, at CHIRS we have our very own Toastmasters Club that runs every Tuesday afternoon from 12:15 to 1:15 at our head office at 62 Finch Avenue West.
Join us at Toastmasters, where leaders are made.
Welcome back to Giving Voice to Your Ability. We have a unique perspective coming up next. Shannon is going to take us on an insider's tour of the residential services side of things, the assisted living they have here at the CHIRS location in Toronto. Now, we start the tour outside, so things do get a little noisy. So let's head outside so we can start our insider's perspective.
And I'm here with Shannon right out in front of CHIRS. We figured you'd give you folks a little sneak peek, shall we say, and take a look at what goes on in the inside. Now, Shannon, if I remember correctly, it was a car accident, the cause of your brain injury, and now you're living within the confines of CHIRS here. Can you tell me what it was like the very first time you stood where we are right now, looking at the doors of CHIRS?
I thought it was the best place to go after I've been to 7 other places before this.
7 other places before this. What type of places?
Well, first I came from the Calgary General Hospital, and then I went to the Alberta Hospital, and then I went to Ponoka, and then I went to Scarborough, and there was like 3 different places, and Pickering, or Ponoka. And from Ponoka, they brought me right here.
Well, let's move in and take a look at things. The best place for you to be. But what was it about the best place? What made it that for you?
It made it better for me because I have more freedom.
More freedom?
Yes. When I was at other places, I had to go out with a friend. I couldn't go by myself. Now from here, I can go by myself.
So you have pretty much complete control over what you want to do when you want to do it.
I do.
Okay, so let's go upstairs and take a look. Can we see where you're living these days, Shannon?
Absolutely. Yes, you can.
All right, so here we've got the lovely elevator that we're going in, and
We're going to the 4th floor.
well, tell me a little bit about the 4th floor. What's up there?
Well, I live up there with 4 other men, and we each have our own bedrooms.
So you've all got your own bedroom, common living area?
Yes, common living area.
Okay, so everyone can watch TV together and things like that. What else is up there?
Well, each person cooks on a different day.
So you have kind of family-like rules.
We do, and I cook every Friday.
What do you cook, Shannon?
Well, they have a menu, and what's on the menu, that's what I cook.
So tell me more about this menu.
Well, it's written what I'm gonna make. It's written down on the menu what I'm making for dinner on a Friday. And I cook on a Friday by myself without just me and nobody else's help and only me.
Okay, so what about groceries? Who does the grocery shopping?
The staff do the groceries, or I go out and I do my own personal shopping.
Okay, so you've got a little fridge or something in your room?
I have a fridge, but I'm not allowed. I just cook, like put my meat and stuff in my freezer, and then the bottom I put lots of water.
Oh, you gotta have water.
I have so much water and juice. And this is our kitchen over here. This is our kitchen.
Well, it's a good sized kitchen.
It is. And over here, right here, these are our menus.
Excellent. So what do we make? You're making
I'm making
grilled cheese and
fries on Friday.
What time do I need to be here?
5 o'clock.
Okay.
And this is also where we eat.
Where you eat? Looks like you got a nice little place to work out as well.
We do.
And what about the balcony out here?
This and the balcony out here. My friend Scott, he plants all these flowers. He put all these flowers up here, all of them.
They look nice. So there's a real family-like atmosphere here, Shane.
There is. We're all family.
That's very good to know. What has Cheers really helped you out with from a living perspective?
Well, making new friends, cooking for myself and other people, and doing different programs that I do. Monday to Friday.
Little things keep you occupied, keep you going.
They always, I'm occupied every day.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, way of doing things.
So what is the one thing that you feel people need to know about living in a Cheers location?
They need to be polite, kind, and not be violent to other people, because you should never be violent to anybody.
No, you should never be violent to anybody.
To get along with everybody and meet new staff.
That's very important.
Because we have staff, and then we have staff at nighttime that do overnights. So they come in at like 8 o'clock and they go right till 7 o'clock the next morning.
That's a long shift.
They get paid for it also.
That's good though. So Shannon, what is the last thing you think we need to see here in the living quarters?
Oh, the laundry room.
Laundry room. Let's go check out what we have for laundry.
And it's free. And each person does the laundry. See, on Monday, I do my laundry. Tuesday, Andrew does his. Wednesday, Danny does his. Thursday, Mike does his. This one's free. Saturday, it's free. And Sunday, Scott does his.
That's a good way to have it listed out. And what about the chores, cleaning the kitchen, things like that? Does everyone pitch in for that?
Everybody, yes. We all should pitch in to do the chores. Who wants to dirty kitchen?
No, nobody does.
But usually all the time, Scott and I take out the garbage and the recycling, take it downstairs, and get
Best way to do it.
Because who wants a stinky place?
No, nobody does.
It's gross. And this is our staff office.
So you have folks around for help. How are you, Rose? Nice to meet you. I'm Sean. Nice to meet you.
And this is where they keep the medicines. And this is another part.
And we see Rose again. She's much faster than we are.
She is, isn't she? Gee, for ground.
Let's go check out the clubhouse.
Okay.
What goes on in the clubhouse? What can you tell me about it?
Well, people, they have food that is made on every day.
What kind of food? We talking meals, snacks?
Meals.
Meals?
And if you want to buy lunch, you pay $3.
That's not bad.
It's not bad at all.
So we have Dave's office.
Dave's office.
Seems to be a lot of fun stuff happens in here.
Yeah.
You should.
And this is our TV.
And how many people hang out watching TV all day?
As many people as want to.
It's good to see. You've got the internet connected here.
Oh, yeah.
You got coffee.
And this is our. You could put music on here
Okay.
or just watch TV.
And so we've got a bunch of board games, guitars.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, you shouldn't really touch the guitars because they're Dave's and Roy.
Shall we go downstairs and check out what's in the basement?
See you later.
Bye-bye.
So here we are in what looks like the computer lab.
Computer lab. People that are in computers come in here to work on the computers.
Okay. Now you've also got some instruments stored in the corner here.
This is for music group.
Okay.
Well, they have music club in the afternoon at 1
Every day?
every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday's music club at 1.
And they also have it at 7 at night.
On Wednesdays. So Wednesday is a musical day.
It is. It's very musical.
Here we go. Everybody needs more cowbell.
Yeah. And this right in here, so here, is where people make things and they have their names like put on the bottom. So after they're done making or they just want to put it to the side, they put it there.
Very good.
These are books for music, club and music.
A lot of singing goes on.
Oh, yeah. And this right in here, see Wayne, the man that does music group and club, he usually puts his stuff in here, which might be up there.
Well, he's got his speaker stands
Oh,
here.
yeah, he does. And we have these.
Bongos.
Well, Kim, she used to come here. It's in a wheelchair, but she hasn't been here before. Well, she was here last week. Yes, this is
And Toastmasters. And what other programs go on down here?
They draw things.
So there's an art club.
There's an art club, and it's usually right over here.
And what's this?
That's the art. They just scribble on it, and they just leave it till it dries.
Okay. So I would imagine the card sharks happen somewhere around here too?
Card sharks is over there.
That happens in this room as well.
Yes, it does.
So Cheers is a family atmosphere that really helps you learn and get into a few things.
It does. And then over here, if you'd like to see, this is where the staff are.
Okay.
So you have to knock on the door. Hello. Yo. I was just giving a tour. This is up where the staff sit. And this over here. This is
More laundry facilities.
laundry, washer, and a dryer. And the staff that work here have their fridge here
Very good.
and freezer up there.
So everyone here is well looked after.
Oh, yes, they are. They should be.
Excellent. So a family atmosphere with lots going on that always seems to bring you back to feeling kind of normal. Does that sound about right? Shannon, thank you very much for your time, my dear.
You're welcome.
We'll talk to you later.
And it's time for us to take a quick break, folks, or at least for me to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have a couple of the Cheers members talk to Dave about what it's like to work at Cheers.
Card Sharks. What we make at Card Sharks is not just cards. It is an original piece of art created by people whose lives have been altered by a brain injury. Card Sharks is an innovative program that provides meaningful engagement and productive activity for more than 80 clients every week. Together, they create over 4,000 cards every year. Card Sharks gives people an outlet for creative expression, a sense of purpose, and belonging. It gives people a community. Check them out on Etsy and Instagram at Card Sharks Plus.
Welcome to the Future Stars portion of our program. Today we're going to do something a little different, and we're going to let a few of the members of the CHIRS organization try their hand at interviewing Dave, and let's see what goes on with Dave. Dave, are you ready to have your fate turned over to your folks?
Well,
you work
Sean,
with?
I'm a little bit nervous. I have not been privy to these questions, but I will see what comes forth.
Well, let's get things rolling then. Simon, we'll start with you. What's your first question for Dave?
Dave, my first question is to
Yep.
you. When you met me, how did you feel meeting a new client?
That's a really good question, Simon. One of the cool things about working at Cheers is that every client is unique into themselves and has their own personality, has their own sort of passions, and really has their own sort of energy. So when I met you, I have to say that you were really, I met you, you initially wanted to be helpful. So I was amazed by how helpful you wanted to be. I thought you were very thorough, and you gave you were very excited about finding a role within Cheers. And initially we had thought of you as you were going to help us with the we. I was impressed with you. You were really articulate and confident and grounded. And it has been a pleasure ever since that first day of getting to know you better.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
And now we'll give Shannon a try. Dave, here comes Shannon's first question.
Uh-oh. Could be scary.
Hello, Dave.
Hi, Shannon.
How do you feel when you come in from home working with other people that have ABI?
How do I feel coming from home working with people that have ABI? I've been here at Cheers for 17 years. And before I worked at Cheers, I worked at a place that I remember going to work, leaving work on a Friday night, and then being anxious all weekend because I knew I had to go back to work on Monday because I really, really struggled in that job. And I have to say that in my 18 years at Cheers, 17 or 18 years at Cheers, I've never been anxious about coming into work. I mean, there's some days that are more exciting, if I know I have a big thing I have to do. But I have to say that this is like the perfect mix for me. I love Cheers. I love the organization, and I love all you guys, and I love sort of spending 18 years. We're spending a life together, and it's been a really amazing ride. So to answer your question, I just love coming into Cheers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now we'll give Kareem his first question. Kareem?
Yes. Hello, David.
Hi, Kareem.
David,
Yes.
how do you feel working with people with disabilities who cannot do what you do?
All right, that's an awesome question. How do I feel working? So okay, so I'll tell you one thing about the people at Cheers, if I can, is that I'm lucky to maybe lead a few things and to help people with meaningful things for them to do and giving them purpose. But I have to say that I learned so much from the people I work with at Cheers. I've learned so many things about politics and biology and sports and just a way of life. I'm constantly amazed. I'm constantly invigorated and inspired by the people that I meet at Cheers. So it's kind of unique in that it's kind of really interesting working with people with ABI, if I can say, Kareem, because when you work with somebody with an ABI, certainly some parts of their brain have been affected. Maybe their memory's not as good, or maybe they may be more impulsive. But for a lot of who they are still stands true. So I'm able to learn a lot of things from people at Cheers. I'm always learning from people at Cheers.
Thanks.
Kareem, you're so welcome.
Nice doing business with you.
Well, it sounds like you're getting raked over the coals here, Dave. I don't know if I could come up with questions.
But these
here.
are kind of soft questions. I'm liking it, yeah.
Oh, we're getting soft questions now.
I
Well,
think so. I mean, they're easy. Yeah.
Let's
Softball
lob another one
questions.
out at Shannon then.
All right.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, Shannon.
Tell me about the difficulty they might have dealing with other people each day.
Tell you about difficulties that people have. A lot of what I do is at the club. And the club, for those people who don't know, is our club. It's a clubhouse. It's a place where a place for people to hang out. And the biggest difficulties that happen at the club, sometimes people with ABI have what I guess we can call impulse issues, and they may say stuff without thinking. Sometimes, if that kind of a simple version of it. So sometimes people will sort of say something that might hurt somebody's feelings. Sometimes they're not trying to hurt their feelings, but they just don't have the censoring skill to sort of go, I better not say that. So that'll sometimes happen. And then sometimes people get angry really quick. And that's also a result sometimes of ABI. So people get angry really, really quick. And then we have to sort of diffuse the anger. And then the other area where sometimes we may have issues at the club are memory. So somebody may forget, let's say, for example, somebody may have bought lunch for somebody the day before. And then the next day, they forgot that they bought lunch. So then that person will say, hey, I bought you lunch last night. Where's my money? And that person might say, I forgot. What are you talking about? So sometimes those arguments will happen. So I would say those things. So those are the three kind of areas that cause some arguments in the club. Good question, Shannon.
Thanks, Dave.
Let's go back to Kareem and get question 2 from Kareem.
David,
Yes, Kareem.
if you remember me, I want to ask you, and please be honest.
I'll try.
Do you remember what your motivation to come to work at Cheers was? In other words, what inspired you to work at Cheers?
Very cool question. I remember. Can I talk a little bit about? Can I go a little bit before Cheers? Is that okay?
I mean, I got time, so go ahead.
Okay. So I worked when I was a kid, when I was like early 20s. I worked at a summer camp. I was a camp counselor. We ran a summer camp, and I loved it. It was my really fun job. I love kids. The kids were 6 to 12-year-olds, and I remember there was a girl. She was probably 12 or 13, and she came in, and she had some developmental cognitive limitations. I think she had Down syndrome.
I see.
And I remember just wanting to help her. And I remember at that moment realizing that what I really wanted to do was I wanted to help people, help the people that may not be the mainstream community, sort of. So after that, I worked a lot with people worked with people that were on the autism spectrum, and I worked with people that came from broken families, and I worked with people who had developmental delays. And then I was working in the school system, and I was working with kids that were in the school system who struggled. So they'd give them. So if you have a hard time, they give you someone to work with you as a one-to-one worker. And it was around Christmas, and I saw an ad on Charity Village, which is where you look for jobs sometimes for social service jobs. And I saw this part-time position at Alderbrain, which is the residence at CHIRS. And I thought, okay, this is kind of a cool job. I'll do a couple of, I didn't really want to make a full-time of it because I had a couple of other jobs. And then I came to CHIRS, and I've told this story, and I've told this story a lot of times, so I don't want to bore you with it, but my first day at CHIRS was almost my last day at CHIRS because I went to CHIRS and I realized, oh my God, these people are just like me. But where I had very close calls with accidents, these are people that actually had the accidents. And Kareem, it freaked me right out. And I went home that day and I said, I felt so sad for everybody there. And I said, I'm not going back. But I had another shift. So my plan was, I swear to you, was to go for another shift, and that would be my end at CHIRS. And then I came in for my second shift, and I started to talk to people. And I actually started to talk to that girl over there in the pink glasses, Shannon, who I met all those years ago. And she made me realize that I shouldn't feel sad for the people that have ABI. I should be inspired by them. Because they took their lives that had been shattered to the ground and they made a new life. And they gave me hope and inspiration. So that is the answer to that question, I guess.
Dave, everything you told me makes sense, and I agree with it, except for the last thing. That people don't want to start a new life. They want to live the same life they lived before, but deal with it in a better way.
Okay, that's another good way of putting it.
Right?
Yeah. You're dealing with your old life in a different way.
Yeah, in a
Okay.
better way.
I like that. I might steal that.
Now we're going to check in with Simon. Dave, you ready for your last question here?
Well, Simon always presents interesting questions, so I'm excited.
Oh, this could be interesting then.
So, Dave, since you started here at CHIRS, how nervous were you? Like, were you actually nervous, like you wanted to run away or something?
Wow, that's a great question, Simon. When I started at CHIRS, can I be honest?
Go ahead.
So even though it was 17 years ago, I was still in my early 30s when I started at CHIRS. So I had done a lot of work. So I wasn't scared of the work. But the one thing I promised myself at CHIRS is I promised myself at other places that I worked at, I would go in guns a-blazing. I would go in and I'd try to have like 45 ideas the first day and show everybody how cool I was and how great I was and how important it was that they had me on the team. And I realized that at CHIRS, what I was going to do differently was I was going to go in and not try to come up with ideas, but spend more time at the beginning just learning from other people and learning the stories and just taking a back seat and not try to sort of impress everybody. So I wasn't really scared when I came to CHIRS, but I was really cognizant of trying to come in a little bit less maximum overdrive, if that makes any sense. I guess I was lucky with other places. Well, not lucky or unlucky. I worked at other places where there were some real behavioral challenges. I remember having to chase a naked 18-year-old boy down a major street because he had run away from the group home, the home that I was working, and I was running after him with a blanket, Or I remember, getting my hair pulled and really getting in some really terrible situations at other places I worked at. So I got to say, when I came to CHIRS, you guys didn't present those kind of behavioral stuff for the most part. So I wasn't really scared. I was really careful to come in and listen rather than try to change the world right away.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
Thanks for that. It's a good question, Simon.
If you've ever questioned what it's like to live with a brain injury, if you've ever wondered, what could it possibly be? The next piece, I think you're going to enjoy. It's actually a collective. All the information put together in this next piece is collected from members at CHIRS. And it was put together and is being presented by Dora. It's called Dear Me.
Dear Me Before. Something huge is about to happen to you that will change you permanently. Your life will be very different. You're going to feel like you have to start from the very beginning. Things will wash from your brain all at once. Your body will forget how to move like it could before. Walking, simply picking up a pen, signing your own name. It will be painful. Dear Me Before. I'm telling you, you are going to make it. My advice to you is this: don't give up. Slow down and embrace the journey. Trust in yourself. Believe in your own words as you say them. Right now, it may seem as the only word you hear is no, but eventually you'll get a yes. The people who are supposed to be in your life will make themselves known because they'll stick around. Be your own best friend. You are a miracle. You deserve your own approval from anyone else. Dear me before. You have something that not everyone has. You have the perspective of someone who's had their life taken away in one night. You understand to the fullest extent what a gift it is to wake up every morning. It is a gift to live. You came out of a coma. To out of a coma means to live. Only because you almost didn't. You carry the wisdom of recognizing that waking up is coming alive. Each day you wake up is coming alive. Dear me, each day you come alive is the day to celebrate.
This episode of Giving Voice to Your Ability was recorded on location at CHIRS headquarters, the Community Head Injury Resource Services, located at 62 Finch Avenue West, Toronto, Ontario, M2N 7G1. The clubhouse is open Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. For more details, visit www.chirs.com or call 416-240-8000. Voices for Ability Radio would like to thank the following for their participation in this episode. The theme song is I Will Survive, written by Freddie Perrin and Dino Ficaris, performed by Panic Fire. Background music by PurplePlanet.com. The CHIRS staff, including Hetty Chandler, David Slonham, and Rowan Brownlee. CHIRS members Marshall, Shannon, Kareem, Simon, and Dora. The logo is by Andrew Bowers. The Voices for Ability road crew is Stacy Franklin, Robert Steves, and me, I'm Sean Pickard. Please send comments, questions, and show ideas to v4aradio@gmail.com. Until next time, folks, bye for now.